Alright guys, whole point of today's video is to try and get you a little bit more life out of the heels of your Birkenstocks. This is a pair I've had for, I don't know, quite a long time. It was repaired by a cobbler years ago, and I kind of think he did a shitty job. And my wife was going to throw these out, and I'm too cheap to let her just do that without at least me trying to fix them. So what the plan is I'm going to take off this outside kind of glue that they put on. I think that's just that heel saver. It's like basically a white Elmer's glue, just with a little rotary tool. And then I'm going to use some epoxy the bigger pieces back in place, and then we're going to rebuild the cork using just a plain wine cork that I shaved, and you'll be able to build up the cork and have some rigidity built back into it. This is one I did a couple of days ago, and it turned out okay. It was a lot worse. Like, oh my God, it was so bad. But I cleaned up the footbed, and I think I'll be able to, get some more use out of them. And I'm sure there's some cobbler out there or whoever that's going to tell me I did this 100% wrong and it's not going to work. Well, it's either that or they're in the garbage. So yeah, let's get started, and it shouldn't be too hard at all. So you can see it peels back down to the original cork eventually once you get all that top schmoo off of there. All right, so as you can see, we've taken off all of that glue, and there's not a lot of structural integrity left. So we want to put some strength back into the heel, build up the cork, and then basically finish it and reseal it. And it's pretty straightforward. All I'm going to use is the clear JB weld that I have right here. And I'm sure someone will say that you should probably, clean out the debris and everything. Now it's clean. I'm not really too worried about being very exact here. I'm going to be taking off a lot of the glue that ends up working its way on the outside of the heel eventually. And you can see, like, you want it to work its way into the cracks, deep down, into the layers if you can. I mean, what do I know? But this is just what I'm doing. Probably should have made more than less epoxy. But there's always time to do it right the second time. This is a lot worse than I thought. Wow. This is fast setting epoxy, but it sets up like to be not tacky pretty quick, but I think I'm going to let it cure just kind of overnight to make sure that the strength gets built into it. And then tomorrow we'll basically take off anything that's overly proud, kind of reshape, make sure that there's nothing, if you were to look at the profile of it, you don't want it to stick out, have any like teeth or little nubbies anywhere. And then we'll add the cork back onto it, and it'll almost be done. This should dry clear as well, so it's not like we need to be too worried if it's going to stain anything. And we will build up a fair amount of cork on top of this. So yeah, I'll just make sure that it's all integrated in there nicely, and yeah, we'll check back with it tomorrow. So there's our puck. That's not great looking, but no better, no worse, that's for sure. Well, today is now tomorrow, and the glue's set up pretty good. You can see it looks a lot more solid. It actually kind of flows nicely into these cracks, which is nice. So now all I'm going to do is take off the high spots, either with just some sandpaper or my rotary tool again, and then we're going to mix up some more epoxy and actually apply our cork, and then we'll let that set. So yeah, I'll get to it. She is a little dusty, I should point out. So some people might want to wear a respirator or eye protection. Squinting and breathing through your nose does the same, so nothing to worry about here. So yeah, pretty smooth, no high points. So we'll mix up our epoxy and get our cork. This is just a cork that I had done for the first one. And you shave it down and it just becomes this kind of like sawdust type, larger grains obviously. And it's, I don't know, first one worked pretty good. Well, I should point out, you can kind of see like areas like that where it seeped into the crack. I ended up taking off a little too much material on this first one, so like areas like that, that's all just straight epoxy. So just be mindful as you're applying it and taking it off that there might be areas where it comes through if you didn't shave off enough. Oh, gotta put on mittens. Last time I got covered in this, it felt like I was 16 again. There's probably a proper glue and proper cork to buy and yada yada yada, but who's got time for that? We're not trying to reinvent the wheel here, we're just trying to make them get a little bit more usable life out of it. Shouldn't be that hard to do. So I'm just putting a generous amount on, as you can see. It's not like self-leveling, but it kind of does flow a little bit. So if you mix it, luckily it's colder than a bronze bidet here in the shop, so it's not moving too much, which is kind of nice. I did bring these inside though to let them dry in the warmth. Okay. That's enough to get us started. Do Jeez. Just like that. I mean, it looks like shit now, but just think of how bad it'll look a day from now. Kind of like when you were doing sprinkles as a kid, you know, in arts and crafts. Probably wouldn't have been a bad idea to have more cork available than less. But remember, we're going to take off a lot of that excess material as well. So we just want it to get it to adhere to the epoxy. And you can see the epoxy's coming through there. And that's basically it. So I'm just going to play with it, try to get off a little bit more of the excess. I learned from the first one that if you can get it off the heel, or the actual sole, it'll make your life a lot easier down the line. And then make sure we just have good adhesion. Maybe try to clean off this top edge too. And then we'll file it down. It does file or sand quite smooth. So even though it looks, you know, pretty pimply now, it will end up with a much more smooth finish, which you can see on that guy over there. So yeah, we'll let this set up. I'll make sure she's good and smooth, and then we'll come back to it for finishing. Today is now tomorrow's tomorrow, and the glue is set up pretty nice. You can see it looks fuzzy on camera, but you can see it's kind of taking a contour. Starting to look pretty decent. So all we're going to do now is just sand off the high spots. And actually, it sands quite easy, which is nice. And you're able to get a pretty quick finish that will be like nice and flat. And yeah, you're just trying to like focus on the sole edges, trim up the top, and get it nice and flat. And then it's just like the last kind of sealer. You could either use the cork seal that, you know, you can buy from the usual scumbags, or you can use, you know, watered down Elmer's glue I've heard of, or for my previous one, I actually used just super glue, and it kind of gave it this nice kind of shiny finish. And then I'll clean up the heel bed just with like a steel brush and some detergent, and treat the leather with just like a leather shoe treat, and Bob's your auntie. So yeah, I'm going to clean this up and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. I should mention it's not a bad idea to avoid using any kind of rotary tool. It does remove material quite quickly. So, you know, before you know it, you can take off more than you planned, and then you got to rebuild it. That's what I ended up doing with the first shoe. I took it off a couple mil too many on the bottom here, and I had to rebuild it. So it was just one extra step, but you know, go slow, take your time. It's been like 2 minutes and it's already looking pretty decent. So yeah, we'll keep chipping away. So she's as good as I care to make it. I'll give you a close-up here, but like, is it perfect? No, definitely not. But is it a hell of a lot better? Yeah. Will I get a little bit more life out of it? Probably. So I'm just going to throw a little bit of just a little kiss of, you'll see it like, it ends up absorbing kind of nicely. no idea what it's gonna look like. Sorry, once it gets wet. But these might just be my putting around the shop sandals anyway, and so I'm not super worried about it. I'm not going to any balls or anything. And yeah, so I'm just gonna finish this off, and then, like I said, clean up the heel, clean up the sole or the footbed, and then give them a good wash down. You can already see it's fucking 100 times better than it originally was. So yeah, that's the plan, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And yeah, you can, this is real easy. Anyone can do this. Any moron can handle it, even you. And yeah, if the women don't find you handsome, they should at least find you handy. Good luck out there.